All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Vought. Glad to have you here. I think I want to speak today in terms of hardworking families in Kansas. The average salary back home for a hardworking Kansan is about $50,000 a year. Over the last 4 years, we've seen cumulative inflation of 20%. So that $50,000 only really could purchase about $40,000 worth of goods and services. Almost $1,000 a month hit to the average Kansan. When we think about the Trump tax cuts, though, those put $1,000 a month back into the pockets of Kansans. Overall, if this Trump tax cuts goes away, it's going to cost Americans about $4.3 trillion over 10 years. Middle America is going to get hit with about 60% of that. Again, $1,000 a month. If those tax cuts go away, it's going to impact hardworking Kansans to the tune of $1,000 a month. I just want you to comment just a second on how big of a priority getting these tax cuts made actually permanent would be and how it would impact our economy and those hardworking Kansans back home.
Well, I think, Senator, thank you for the question. I think it would devastate their bottom line in having to face a massive tax increase that they are not prepared for, nor should they. I think there should be, and the president has run on this, an extension of the tax cuts and some of the other provisions that he's proposed on the campaign trail. And we've got to go after the spending. We've got to go after ensuring that we are producing as much American energy as we possibly can. And we've got to get beyond the regulatory burden that we've put on the American people. And I think those are all policies that you'll see, if confirmed, me prioritize in this role.
Let's talk a little bit about budgeting. Folks back home, they're expected to balance their checkbooks, pay off their credit card debt. Unfortunately, they're seeing their credit cards are maxed out. It's tough times, no doubt about it. But Congress seems to not care about a budget. If Congress would go to a zero-based budgeting reform, working with your office, what could be the impact of that? And I mean zero-based budgeting, even grants. We make grants on their 5-year terms typically, but if we would just start looking at those grants, especially the ones that are going out of the country, what impact would zero-based budgeting have for getting towards a balanced budget?
Well, I think the concepts of zero-based budgeting is that you get a sense of what are the things that you haven't taken a look at in a long time, and starting from the ground up. And it doesn't mean you're not going to fund that. Just it means that you're taking an approach to looking at each agency spend and where the big dollars are coming from. And I think every family does that in America. They look at what's the amount that they are going to bring in from a paycheck, and then they look at their spending and they say, what are the big pockets of discretionary funding that they could do without? And that's what I think that budgeting is about. And I think it's important not to lose that level of common sense that comes from a family balancing their own books.
Okay. I think just give you a little time here to just discuss inflation in general. You made the comment earlier that federal borrowing causes inflation, and that's pretty intuitive to some of us, but I think you just want you to take that just a little bit and explain to, again, those folks back home. When the federal government is borrowing money, spending more than they have, how does that lead to inflation?
Well, you certainly have more money in the system that's coming from federal dollars that are providing competition and the ability to have prices go up as a result of that. And then you add the component to which who's buying much of that debt. Much of that debt is being bought by the Federal Reserve that is printing money to buy that debt.
And then
putting that into the economy.
And of course, that's going to impact interest rates as well. So one of the goals would be to get interest rates down. What's it going to take for interest rates to meaningfully come down, not just because of what the Fed's doing?
Well, it's going to require us to get a handle on our spending to begin to have deficits that are much more manageable.
Thank you, Chairman. I yield back.